everyone, welcome to another episode of New Slang. I'm your host, music journalist Thomas Mooney, and we close out the week being joined by singer-songwriter Jaime Wyatt. So Jaime released a new album earlier this year, an excellent one called Neon Cross. I really enjoyed talking with Jaime about the album and the writing of these songs. She's obviously incredibly open and honest in her songwriting, and that really carries over into how she talks about these songs and about the artistic process in general. Obviously, often it can be difficult to go back and revisit trauma of the past, even when it is a part of a song. Sometimes you'd rather just gloss over it, right? Just let the song be. And I'm not saying that it's easy or even difficult for Jaime to discuss these songs or her past run-ins with the law or addiction and what have you. I guess I could have asked her that, but what I am saying is that she does do it. And as a journalist, a listener, as a fan in general, that is obviously much appreciated. You know, I didn't plan it out this way. It just sort of happened, but it is interesting how this week's guests, Jaime here and Waylon Payne on the episode right before this, so much of their new albums are shaped by these large spans of time in Los Angeles. And both drug addiction, relapses, and sobriety have largely shaped the feelings that they express throughout their records. You know, we often champion the quote-unquote outlaws in country music due to their excessive partying and the middle finger to authority and their all-around good nature feel, and then have a very extremely difficult time supporting these folks when they're addicts or alcoholics once the party's over. And, you know, so much of that time has shaped both these records. You know, the isolation, the loneliness, the lonesomeness. You know, here on Neon Cross, there's a lot of heartache and grief and restlessness and self-loathing. And that's, to me, an essential element to hear and understand. The pain in Jaime's voice and in those words that she's written. But also, there are these moments where her spirit isn't drained or defeated. There's strength and grace and beauty and a toughness and a determination that you hear in these words as well. That often comes in these tongue-in-cheek winks and just humorous moments in general. Take a song like Livin or Hurt So Bad. There's a lot of that in those songs. And then there's that bold confidence that we just really need in a song like Rattlesnake Girl. At any rate, Jaime's as genuine as they come. And that really is the strength behind Neon Cross. Not to mention a ridiculously sharp sound that obviously has its nods to 70s country, but is not tied to any of the rules of that day. She's still bold and fearless with Shooter Jennings as the producer. They still aren't just tied down to that 70s style. Today's presenting sponsor is Desert Door Texas Sotol. If you know anything about me, it's probably that I'm from the heart of West Texas and absolutely love everything about West Texas. And that's really why I love Desert Door so much. You may be asking yourself what exactly Sotol is. Well, it's a premium spirit that's similar to a tequila or a mezcal, but for my money, it's a little bit more refined and smooth. There's a sweetness and faint hints of vanilla and citrus. And it's also as versatile as your garden variety vodka. At its core, Desert Door is authentically West Texas. They go out and harvest Sotol plants from the wild and bring them back to their distillery over in Driftwood, Texas. So next time you're at your local liquor store, get a bottle of Desert Door. For more info, check this episode's show notes. If this is your first time listening to New Slang, I strongly suggest hitting that subscribe link. If you just did, I'm giving you a virtual high five right now. New Slang is over on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, and basically any and everywhere you listen to podcasts. Go check out the New Slang merch store, grab a koozie, some stickers, buttons, and magnets. Any bit helps. I'll throw a link into the show notes. And if you're into playlists, go check out Tom Mooney's Cup of Coffee and the Neon Eon playlists over on Spotify. The Neon Eon is for all your nostalgic 90s country needs, which there's going to be more Neon Eon related stuff coming your way pretty soon. And then Tom Mooney's Cup of Coffee is a regularly updated mix of new Americana and country music it's also a really great hint at who I have coming up on the podcast. So, yeah, go follow those. Okay, I think that just about does it. Let's go out and get on to the interview. Here is Jaime Wyatt. Yeah, let's just go ahead and start off with, you released this record back in the spring, and, I'm sure you envisioned releasing this record in a different world, a pre-pandemic world, and obviously that kind of just threw a giant wrench in any kind of touring or promotion as far as being out on the road.
Yeah.
What have you been doing the last few months to, that's occupied the time that you would have been out on tour?
Oh man. I mean, really it's been repivoting like the whole release plan, being that there was no touring. It was like, I had to go back to the drawing board and figure out how I was going to promote this album and still reach people, without touring. So thank goodness there's, ways to do that with technology nowadays. And I feel really grateful to have something to promote and talk about online and hopefully, be a nice distraction for folks and provide some entertainment. So it's like, we're doing a lot of live streams. I actually recently did like a recorded concert with a badass band that went up on Nashville Scene, and it'll go and different parts of it will go up on different outlets, but we've got a link up on Nashville Scene. That's a really great band, and it's like Sturgill Simpson's drummer, Miles Miller, and Wheeler Walker's bass player, and Midland's keyboard player. And so I was able to put together a really rad band and do like a set, so that people can watch it online, and hopefully that's the like precursor to, folks wanting to come see a live show when we can play.
Yeah. It's so strange is that everyone has had to do that little bit of that pivot or the trying to find something to occupy their time. And I guess the silver lining in all this is that people are available, that they're kind of stuck in Nashville or wherever they live. And so like for you, like being able to just kind of make that, as you put it, badass band together, you have more of those opportunities to do something like that.
Dude, that's so true. Actually, it's, I didn't think I'd be able to get Sturgill Simpson's drummer, but because, all of us are at home sort of twiddling our thumbs, people want to play. And there's definitely some positive things to this pandemic, but yeah, definitely threw a wrench in the release plan. But so a lot of filming, and a lot of interviewing, podcasts like this, and radio interviews. We've been live streaming and doing Zoom concerts, doing also like Zoom interviews with radio stations, which has kind of saved the whole radio thing. But even still, it's just kind of tricky when I'm still new, and I've been at this 16 years. I'm still new,
Right. Yeah. It's so weird because, I tried to, and whenever I first started or I launched New Slang, I try to make all of them into, let's do them in person. You can read everyone so much better. And then it's just been like a sharp learning curve to adjust to, let's do these on phone or on Zoom. And, I love it so much, but like, obviously there's still so much where you're going, oh my God, I got to just learn on the fly on how to.
Yes. That is so true. And I even learned how to I never thought I'd want to be like one of those influencers, people that like talk into the video camera, on Instagram, but like I'm doing it because I want, because I get tired of just reading text on my phone. And so I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll talk to the people. And so I've been doing more of that, on Instagram and Facebook, and just like talking about what I'm doing or talking about the album that way. But yeah, it's been learning a lot of new things right now. In addition to getting to have a rad garden and doing some pretty awesome home improvement projects.
Yeah, I've in talking with a lot of people since March or so, a lot of people I've noticed that they've been doing the gardening, home improvements, and obviously, like as a songwriter, I think like a lot of songwriters, if you asked them a year ago, what's one thing you wish you had to help improve your craft, they would say, "Oh, time." And then all of a sudden, like all this time is here, and I think like obviously that's kind of a shock because sometimes it's not as easy as just like waking up in the morning and acting like it's a 9 to 5. So there is, I feel like all those other little creative outlets in the gardening, the home improvement, painting, writing in general, just doing something else can just help get those creative juices flowing. Have you noticed that for yourself?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I've gotten to delve into writing songs that are a little bit different and outside of the box. And, so that's cool. And I've been playing a lot more piano, which is so great. I'll never be Leon Russell, but like I'm trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Leon play?
Gosh, no, I wish. I've watched, all his documentaries. I like to watch live performances on YouTube of his, but I missed that one. I missed that boat, man. Did you?
I saw him once here it was in Abilene a few years back.
Cool.
It was just, just magical. 'Cause it's like,
yes,
you for so long in his career, he's kind of like this underappreciated genius, right? And it was kind of amazing, especially I guess since that record that he did with Elton John, he started getting a lot more recognition again and getting some of those proper dues. And it like that's what I kind of loved is he's finally, and you can he could tell that he was being appreciated, that he wasn't just being overlooked.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great to hear because honestly, that is, artists like Leon Russell and JJ Cale and like those kind of more underdogs that like, those guys are like, musicians that just humble me and, that inspire me so much. That Leon Russell is a legend in my opinion, and his talent he was just so special. And I love that you use the word magical. That's exactly how I would describe Leon Russell. So that's cool.
Yeah, because there's like that. He's kind of there's that cosmic aspect. There's the like the wild beard and like a little bit of face paint and the tall top
for
hat.
Sure.
And you just get that carnival. Obviously, you have that record Carnival or.
Yep.
So like you get a little bit of that vibe and I don't know. It was really just, it was a great night seeing him play. So
gosh, I bet. That's so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah, well, going back to, you're writing on piano more is how we even got into this is like,
right.
Is that I'm assuming that's not your first instrument, right?
Or
is it?
It's technically, no, guitar really is and was, but I did play piano as a really young person. I only regret that I had to deal with my parents to like do lessons long enough to get a skateboard. And once I got that, I was like, I'm out. I'm done with piano. But I just play by ear and with chords. And actually, sometimes that's been a great way to come up with, really interesting melodies and whatnot. But yeah, it's not my like main instrument, if that's what you're asking. I've been playing guitar since I was like, I got my first guitar when I was 4, but so seriously playing guitar since I was like 11.
Yeah. Well, the reason I ask is I was gonna say, like, does it make you, I don't know, slow down as when you're writing something or creating, since it's something that is a little bit more new and fresh to the process?
Oh man, I've gotten some great songs out of it. What I think are, songs that feel really good and different and feel like, breaking new ground. There's 2 piano songs on Neon Cross that I wrote By Your Side on piano. Though I didn't perform it on piano on the album, I do play it on piano now. And then I performed a song. The first song on Neon Cross is called Sweet Mess, and that I did write on piano and perform it on the record. But yeah, man, it's great because I can write folk and country songs all day on the acoustic, but I really get to sort of explore and push the edges of my style by getting on a piano and getting out of my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of, you just mentioned Sweet Mess. I thought that song was in a lot of ways kind of like a table setter for the record.
Yeah.
When you're getting down to, like, these 11 songs and all that kind of stuff, did you always kind of envision it as like that intro to the record, or?
No, I didn't. I thought it'd be like the last song on the album, but Shooter was like, he loved it so much, and he loved how different it was. And he was like, man, it's just so moving. What if we just start the whole album like it? And I was like, isn't that like career suicide? Like, no one will listen to the record. They'll be like, too slow, turn it off. And he's like, nah. He's like, no, it just like, it sucks you in. And it makes you like, calm the fuck down and listen. So I'm hoping that's what's happening. So far, I'm hearing as such, but I'm sure we've lost some people. But it's like, I guess there's that thing, it's like you got to, if you can sit through this one, you've earned it. You can sit still.
Yeah.
Then you're grown and you're mature enough to handle this.
I thought of it so much as almost like a prologue, kind of just like not, obviously it's a part of the record and you feel it, it's part of the record, but it's almost kind of like a shining light, like a solo light right on you to open the record. And I don't know, I felt like that kind of was an attention grabber, kind of like hey, this is the record, and kind of like like I said, kind of like a prologue in a way, like setting you up for the rest of the album.
Well, good. No, I'm really glad that it sounds like it's working. The effect is working. Thank goodness. Yeah.
This episode is in part brought to you by the Blue Light Live here in Lubbock, Texas. While Blue Light is still closed due to the pandemic, there is a way to help A, support Blue Light, and B, get a sense of that normalcy by visiting bluelightlubbock.com, clicking on the merch tab, and getting some koozies, a vast array of t-shirts and caps, and yes, even a Blue Light flag. While it is such a bummer that live music is still on hold right now, I'm telling you, by getting some Blue Light Live merch, you're going to feel better. It just feels better wearing a t-shirt and ball cap and helping support your favorite bar. Again, that's bluelightlubbock.com. Click on the merch tab, get some merch. All right, back to the episode. Yeah. So obviously you worked with Shooter on this album, and I think, like, for starters, I feel like journalists and listeners, we always kind of have like this idea of, the magical producer, like the person, like, right, in that Rick Rubin kind of mythical style, or like, Phil Spector, like just kind of being a personality onto their own self, right? Like a cult of personality in a way. But talking with more artists, you kind of get more of so much of what a producer does is the organizer, right? The getting players in and just making sure that, the train's stopping at the right time and everything. What was it like working with Shooter? Was it a little bit of both worlds, as far as like, him making sure things were going in a, progressing, as well as bringing in ideas? Or what did you kind of feel that he's succeeded best or most at on this
I
record?
mean, I suppose it's so funny because I'm like, okay, yeah, it's like a project manager. I mean, yes, but I love the way he manages the project. Is like, it's got to get done in a week, and it's work fast and be spontaneous. That's why he gets the best players that for the job. And so because he's going to, it's almost all just spontaneous or improv, and that it's like the guys in the band didn't really get the songs, but like a couple days before we're like just charting them right before we're tracking them, and doing that. I believe that Shooter did that because he's like, he didn't want them to get attached to the demo at all, because he was and is kind of like that Rick Rubin guy where it's like, you think you're going to track. Like for me, I thought I was going to track like, some like straight up Buck Owens song. And then it ended up so psychedelic and so outside of what I thought, but so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny that you did mention Rick Rubin, because I feel like Shooter has this like instinct that is just so unique, but so right and so fitting. There was never a moment, or even, maybe rarely a moment, where he made some wild call that wasn't the right fit. So he's very innovative and very spontaneous.
Mm-hmm. How much do you have to, obviously as someone who's never cut a record or anything, how much do you have to just kind of like let go or like be open to, other ideas and stuff like that?
Oh, I mean, a lot, absolutely. And I think that's like historically what people understand of making an album. And for me, it was like, because I produced a lot of my own stuff and, instructed bands for a lot of years that, so I would basically be orchestrating and arranging.
Mm-hmm.
But so I had to kind of like set myself up, and knowing Shooter really well, because we'd been on the road for a few years and been friends, it was like I had to really prepare myself every time I went in the studio to be able to pivot on a dime and be like, okay, I got you. Like really, I had to take care of myself so well and be so prepared and so on the ball so that I could keep up with his mind,
Yeah. He's been, I guess, like, a part of these big projects as of late, like I'm thinking like the American Aquarium record, this record.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't he just produced the next Marilyn Manson album? He's just
Right.
kind of like all of a sudden, I don't know if necessarily all of a sudden, but being a voice as a producer is, I guess, like that shining light is on him now as one of these next bright up and coming producers.
Yes, yeah, man, he's got 2 Grammys now.
Mm-hmm.
He's been working on this craft, and it's he's an incredible artist, but I really believe he shines as a producer, and I think he can do big things. He's like, he knows how to like just walk. He's so good in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And he shines.
Like one of the things is that it's like he's, again, like if you had said 20 years ago or 25 he was going to produce a Marilyn Manson record, I think some people would maybe not think that would happen. But
yeah, they'd be like, no way.
It's like, he's it feels like he's very like unafraid of going big and going like outside the box and like, hey, you know what, this is just, we don't have to use a label as far as rock and roll or country, or it's just, it's just American music.
Yes, exactly. He is not afraid of genres and formats. He's like, let's make great records, because that's all we listen to. And I could say we, because I gauged a lot about his record collection from being on tour with him. That's all we did was like listen to the albums after the show and listen to like legendary albums. And that's, similarly, I do just want to make legendary albums. I don't care if I still get comments on Facebook, this isn't country. It's like, okay, it's music. And I think that I wouldn't bother wasting your time recreating a Merle Haggard record to the T or a Loretta Lynn record to the T, because that'd be an insult to those artists and to the listener. I want to make something that is, engaging.
Mm-hmm.
And exciting. So that's like, Shooter's the perfect person for that,
Yeah, because, I guess like it's a double-edged sword with country music as far as, tradition is such a, that's that can make what makes country music great. And then it's also like what holds it back in so many ways is the gatekeeping aspect of it all, because it's like, somebody has to tell us what is and what isn't, and how country is it, or is it authentic country? Is it genuine? And I feel like that's all too exhausting. And there's so many, just like country as a whole just feels like that. You just feel the, like all the, as you said, like the commentators on Facebook or on social media, I guess, just tell me that's not country, or I don't know. To me, that's really exhausting.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, yes, it is exhausting. If you want, I don't understand it, because it's like, if I want traditional country music, I'm going to listen to the great records that were already made.
Exactly.
It's been around for so many years. It's supposed to be, or it was traditionally, simple chord progressions, simple melodies, and simple lyrics. So, we're bound to just be rehashing the same things if we aren't stepping outside of the box a little. And I just didn't want to do that. There's definitely, there's definitely ways to approach even more traditional country music than mine. But I have so many influences too that we talk about like Leon Russell. It's like, that's not country, but he made some country music that was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And, artists like Elton John, or like pop artists, they would take amazing aspects of country, rock and roll, blues, and gospel, and it was just music, and it was just great music. They didn't care. Nowadays, because pop radio is so saturated with, money, like it's so saturated with artists that just have a lot of money behind them, that like, we release things now, like I release records in the Americana genre and in country, because I love country, but that it's like, there's just a smaller arena now for like what I'm saying is that Leon Russell was called pop. Tom Petty was called pop. Like,
mm-hmm.
All these artists that actually had roots in like country and soul and traditional American music.
Yeah. One of the things, it's always considered like a dirty word, is like pop sensibility. It's like,
right.
All of the stuff that you really love that's catchy and good has some pop sense to it. And I've never met somebody who is like, what I really love about this guy is that he is very difficult to listen to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that just blows my mind.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned Elton, like his early records, those are like just low key kind of country western, gunfighter ballad kind of stuff. And, I love those early Elton records so much.
Me too. I'm a big Elton fan. That's awesome, man. It's like pop sensibility to me, because of that, because my favorite artists were considered pop. Like, I think it's a compliment if someone told me I had pop sensibility, because I just, the reason I'd written songs was to, it's like to connect with others. And the more American music has this great just catchiness to it, but also has, really emotive things that someone can adopt a melody. Like if I have pop sensibility, that means that more people can connect with it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like obviously though, like one of the things about this new record that you have that to me is like a really traditional country thing is how you you marry the grief and like heartbreak with kind of the self-loathing and humor. Like there's a lot of stuff on here that I would kind of not like full on laughing or chuckling, but I go like, oh, like that's kind of funny right there.
Yeah,
Dark.
that's the goal. Good.
So like
No.
I think like the one that just popped to mind is off Livin. That I ain't afraid of dying. I'm so scared of this Livin. What when did that come together? Like where were you, and like when did that kind of pop up for you?
Oh man, that is, well, it was, I got sober again 3 years ago, and I was on a warpath in my addiction. And, and then even in early recovery, getting sober again, it was like I could see clearly where my mindset was. And sometimes I still go there because it's just, habit for a long, long time is like, I could never really conform to like regular living in society as an artist, and wanting to be a writer and wanting to be a player, like a musician. Mm-hmm. Professionally. It's so difficult. It's just like, it's considered quite irresponsible, but, really I had just gone down such a dark depression that it was like, I didn't know how. I was honestly more comfortable with the idea of dying than having to face life every day and face, the uphill battle of trying to manage and control an addiction. That it's so difficult. Anyone who tells you that addicts are lazy is sorely mistaken. Mm-hmm. Because, staying loaded every day is a full-time job, and it's also miserable. So really, yeah, coming from that and experiencing a lot of grief too. And taking the hard road of, trying to do art for a living. It got me to the point where it was just like easier to think about dying than it was living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like one of those, I don't even know if you necessarily did it on purpose, or maybe I'm reading too far into it, but like one of the things that I really find so devastating in those lines is that you don't even say living. You spell it out. Like, yeah. I don't know. I
didn't like even, I guess, right? I definitely not really thought about it that way.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's like, that's just one of those, obviously it's devastating and there's a lot of grief in there, but it's also really, as far as like on the artistic side, it's very, very beautiful and moving and touching.
Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I think a lot of young people can relate, and old people too. It's like, it's just it's the human condition that we all have. And whether, some people just prefer not to talk about, those deep feelings of self-loathing or the deep fears on a daily basis. I just have had to sort of like look at my fears head on in order to move forward or reconcile who I am and what I've done in order to move forward. I've had to really like look everything head on and kind of look at the way I think about life on life's terms. It's hard to lose people, this, even like life is short, And you think about it, if you get, like, I would become so critical. I'm like, what's the fucking point? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we're here for a while. We work our asses off, jobs we hate, and we don't get to see our loved ones enough, and then life is short, and they go and they leave us, or we leave them, and they've got to figure out how to, afford to bury us. It's like, that sounds so dark and cynical, but that was my experience. I had also, my dad had passed away right after I released Felony Blues, and he was a musician, and he was, rambling man, and he had like nothing to his name when he died. And, literally to the point where we had raised money to cremate him. And that is often the story of the artist.
Mm-hmm.
So I've definitely seen some darkness, but what I learned from, like, films and my favorite songwriters, I feel like people like Christopherson had great senses of humor, and even Dylan. It was like things that were really tragic are also hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like when it's like watching a TV show where the main character is just so down on their luck, and they're like, trying to get to the job where the boss is so mean to them, and their like car breaks down, and they're like, stranded on the side of the road, and a truck drives by and sprays mud all over them. It's like hilarious, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like
And it's also terrible luck.
yeah, you've had those days where
Yeah.
you just kind of go like, God, what else is going to go wrong? Is there like a repeat button? Can I start over? Can I,
Yeah.
and then like those days kind of, if they stick with you and years later you reflect on them, you're kind of chuckling to yourself like, how did I fucking survive that? Like, how did
Yeah.
how did I get on to
How
the
did
next
I
day?
not just like give up? Because that was probably like the worst day ever, but also kind of the funniest, because you'll still, tell the story back, and it's just like, no, you had to have lied about some part of that. And but
Yeah.
it's not, it's the truth.
Yeah. You're talking about the, just kind of being, just knowing what I kind of call it is like just being like overly aware of like yourself, I guess. And like
Yeah.
what do they call it? Like when you have like I'm forgetting the word, an existential crisis.
Yes, that's exactly what this album's about.
That like, I feel like I've always had a problem with those, like just kind of
Yeah.
feeling like, well, what's the point? Like, why are we, if this is just going to be, if this is just temporary, then what's the point? And I felt that like since I was a kid. And
Right.
I feel like that's just one of those things that no one really talks about, is feeling like that. And I don't know, like, I feel like either A, like kind of like you're saying, like no one talks about it, or B is like, man, is there a way to just like, I don't know, get that part cut out or something? Like, like
Yeah.
it's the like just kind of being like the happy idiot or something, or like, can someone switch that off? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like being a deep thinker and being painfully aware of just how temporary life is, and how difficult and how painful it can be. It's like, that's kind of what I was getting at times. I feel like I think that's the reason I've used drugs and alcohol, because it's like, okay, this is the cheat. This is the best cheat that I ever learned, was to like numb out on it, because I'm painfully aware of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it, gosh, if it just worked and it didn't destroy my life and my mother and my loved ones, then sure, I would have kept on doing it. But, it is, to be painfully aware sometimes is also hilarious, to be so observant, yeah.
Yeah, like you've framed this album as also kind of being your LA album, this pocket of your life where, you know, you've had a whole lot of grief and heartbreak and struggle and pain and this self-awareness, right? And that it was all like when you were living in LA.
Yeah.
I guess, like, do you feel like this is one of those things where you had to get these songs out and you're kind of ready to move on to what's next? Or do you feel it's just always going to be a part of you?
That's a good question. I mean, it is also kind of like, even if I am able to, you know, I'm actually pretty positive, like day to day, but I think I will always be deeply observant, and questioning of life. And I'll always be able to go to these sort of, I don't know if I'll always be grief stricken, but I can recall, you know, because of the life I've lived, I will always be able to go to this particularly emotional place. Mm-hmm. And even when sorry about that, even when I'm, you know, I also am very empathetic towards others. And it sounds like it, but it's just like a way that I process life. And I think it's important, no matter how happy we are. It doesn't mean just because I write about things that are painful and sad or hard or just struggle, right? That is also like quintessential of Los Angeles is the struggle, or New York City for that matter, but that it's just difficult. I don't know, man. Maybe I'll be successful one day and I'll get so out of touch, but I don't think so. I think I'll be successful, you know, because to me, success, I've set the bar pretty low. It's just, you know, but I think I'll be successful, but that I don't think I'll ever be out of touch with what is, you know, the basic human condition.
I wanted to talk to y'all one more time about our new partners at Desert Door and offer up a handful of my favorite ways to drink it. Get you a Mexican Coca-Cola, have a couple of swigs, then pour yourself some Desert Door Oak aged in, toss in a lime wedge or two, or how about this? Pour some Desert Door into a mug, top off the glass with some ginger beer, squeeze in a lime, or for all you ranch water drinkers out there, get you a Topo Chico, take a couple of pulls off, and then pour in some Desert Door. Toss in a couple of lime wedges, and now you have a mighty tasty and refreshing ranch water. Remember, Soto is as versatile as vodka and has a more refined, smooth, and a more complex palate than tequila. It's rich and balanced, and whatever your go-to drink is, it'll make it that much better. And again, it's inherently West Texas. It tastes like home. For more info on Desert Door, check our show notes. All right, that's it for Thomas Mooney's Cocktail Minute. Let's get back to the show. Like, the most important part of being a songwriter is being able to tap into that empathy.
Yes.
Which is kind of, I'm just thinking about when you mentioned that, I'm kind of thinking about it right now, thinking like, it's strange because there's like, it's kind of on opposite ends as like the songwriter, like the essential aspect is empathy. But being like the front man or the front woman, like that's almost like just like being so self-indulgent, right? Like the keys to
right,
like, and those are kind of like on polar opposites, even though most of the time those are like the same person. I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe I'm.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think, you know, yes, the front man or woman has been, you know, can also be that very, very, you know, attention-starved adult child. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, to write and sing for people, you've got to be able to speak to them and understand a wide variety of people and discuss general enough themes to reach a lot of people and understand the basics of, I think, the human condition and the human struggle. Yeah, it's like so often, like, the front person is mistaken, for this, like, clown, right? And the story, the plight of the clown is their sadness, right? Like that classic song, Tears of a Clown, when there's no one around.
Right.
And probably, I've always wanted to entertain people, and I was kind of a class clown, and I like to cheer up my family always when I was little, because I did understand how sad, how sadness feels, and how, if I could just be the cheerleader and, like, help people through that, it satisfied something so deeply in me.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the Rolling Stones live, or like even just like on YouTube or something like that?
Yeah, I've watched a bunch of their documentaries and YouTube videos.
I can't remember if it was, I read it somewhere or what, but they were talking about how if you watch the Rolling Stones, it's like watching two separate shows. Like Mick Jagger has his own show, and then like Keith Richards and the rest of the band are doing their own thing. And sometimes they interact and they come together, but it's almost like two bubbles happening at once. Like when Mick's like the front man out there on stage, he thinks like everyone came to see him. And then like Keith thinks like they all came to see them. Like
yeah, that is so funny. For sure.
And I watched, sure. After that, I was watching some clips or like a live doc or something, or, a concert or something like that online. And it was very much that. It was so funny, like having that little bit of like, oh yeah, I guess that is very true. But the singer's always in their own universe, though, I think. Yeah, like this all kind of goes back, all ties to one of my big things is that I think as journalists, as fans, as just as someone else, a different individual outside the when we look at artists, we typically project like our ideas of who that person is, and sometimes we miss the kind of like you're saying, like that sadness, the in that person, or the just because they're singing about this doesn't necessarily mean like that's them 24/7.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
For you, like obviously so many of these songs you're so honest, right? There's a lot of brutal honesty in these songs. Have you ever had any hesitation on writing that, I guess, like, that cuts that deep, that close, or is that just always kind of been natural for you?
No, it definitely hasn't. I've filtered a lot for a lot of years as to what I was okay saying. And I think, honestly, as I get older, the more honest I want to be, the more brutally honest I want to be. And, but yeah, I've done a lot of editing for a lot of years as far as like what I was actually going to say. And there have been times, especially in writing this album, I'm like, oh, is that too much to say? Should I not be singing about ketamine?
Yeah.
This is a country album. But it's not like just because we pretend things don't happen doesn't mean they're not actually happening. And so I just found for me that it was like, gosh, everything's already been said. Again, I just am really reaching for ways to entertain that is different and visceral and relatable.
Mm-hmm. For you, like if you kind of have like your perfect conditions, I know songs don't come the same way every time or anything, but if you had like the perfect conditions, what's kind of like your setup? Are you like a pen and pad, guitar, quiet room, morning, evening? What are you kind of, if you just had like all the rightness in the
Yeah, actually I write a lot traveling.
Mm-hmm.
because I can just look out the window and sort of daydream. I was doing that in school growing up too, looking out the window and writing lyrics while I was supposed to be learning something in class. But I just do a lot of like free writing on pen and paper throughout the day. And I think of different lines throughout the day as I'm doing anything. It's good for me to like start the morning, thinking about a song, like visiting some song ideas. And then they kind of seem to write themselves while I'm doing other things. Then I go back to like that quiet room and run some different ideas and look at the lyrics then it'll make it to the computer and I'll look at the story and see how things are connecting. And, but it's interesting. I write mostly melodies and lyrics are first. Then I know, sort of now I've been playing music for a long time. So I'm like, oh, that's going to happen over the 4 chord, or that's going to happen over the, it'll go 4 to the 2 there. It's going to start with the chorus or, so I kind of know just because it's just pop music, thankfully. So yeah, I kind of just write in my head mostly and sleeping. I always work things out when I'm sleeping.
Yeah. I always think that like that's something else we romanticize so much about is the writing process, right? Like, oh, I went in there and it just kind of happened, right? And I feel like sometimes we've learned from all our heroes, like the way to write is really, really cool. Like just kind of effortless. And so much of it is like, if you're making it look effortless, that means that you've done so much work to make it look cool.
Exactly.
And, I've always wondered like how much of it is before you even get the pen and paper out or the guitar out or the piano or how much of the writing process is happening before you even get all the materials together, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's like 70% in my head and 30% with an instrument, but then it's still 50-50 when it comes to inspiration versus work and rolling up my sleeves and getting down to business. It's really 50-50 in that way.
Yeah. How many songs do you often get like in let's just say like a month period? Like how many, not necessarily finished or like this is totally done or anything like that, but like generally how many songs are you kind of working with in a month period?
If I'm, let's see, if I don't know, maybe it's like, 10 to 15 a month, like new ideas. If I'm in a good spot. Otherwise it's like, if I'm really, really, right now I'm promoting a record. So maybe it's like 5 because I'm actually working a lot on promoting and
all the other stuff,
trying to make a living. So it's like, maybe it's like 5 a month right now. But if I'm out on the road, it's closer to like 10 and 15.
Yeah. Just a lot of stuff to see, a lot of people to meet. I'm assuming just to kickstart those ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. The seed. Yeah. I call them seeds. They're always like, I've got this seed of an idea. And then sometimes also like I'll pull from, I still have songs from like 10 years ago that I still want to finish.
Yeah. Yeah. Like those ones that you just you can't shake loose.
Right. And then never like, there's like the rewriting, but then there's the forcing of things that doesn't work. And, so it's a fine line between those two.
Like obviously I'm not a songwriter, but working on articles sometimes, like if I'm trying to like, I need to get this done and if I start just being too forceful in a way, like nothing happens. It's like, that's what I know. I need to like step away and just kind of, go wash the dishes or go outside
Exactly.
for a while or something, because then it kind of does work itself out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And because, you know, because I don't like drink or smoke weed or do anything anymore like that way, meditation is really helpful for me, and like exercise and gardening and, you know, out in nature, that those things really do make a difference. And it's interesting that, like, you know, like working really hard on a home improvement project is like just as beneficial as, say, smoking a joint would be back in the day for me when I'm writing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like again, like the people I've talked with in these last few months, it has been because I feel like it's so easy to, especially in this downtime, it's easy to just kind of start drinking every day or something at noon.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
you know, the gardening thing, going on hikes,
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff like that, just to fill up the time, occupy the time.
Yeah.
It all helps.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's important because, yeah, it's just the, you know, even more well-meaning people or less troubled people than myself are going to get into trouble because there is so many limitations on how we can live right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the lack of social interaction is definitely affecting mental health. It's, you know, we've got to be so careful and watch out for our friends, and check on our friends who might become caught up in the sadness or you know, just without access to the normal routines. Yeah. Start, you know, drinking real early or whatever, and self-destruct.
Yeah. You know, that's, I guess, like really back in March, April, that's when I really became aware of that, because I can just be by myself. I'm fine. Like,
Yeah.
just hanging out by myself. And, you know, this has been like in a lot of ways, like a walk in the park. But what it made me do is like, made me so aware of how many of my friends were just kind of, you know, drowning out there in just by themselves, you know, in that idle kind of world. Just, you know, isolation was not the best thing for them. And the interaction with people, with strangers, that's like is so beneficial for them. And that's how they've been able to get on. That's what gives them energy. And for me, I'm just kind of like, oh God, a stranger. I don't want to talk to a stranger at all, you know. But no small talk. I don't like small talk.
Yeah, well, writers. We are more comfortable with our alone time and downtime, I think, typically. Mm-hmm. I'm sort of both. You know, I'm an introvert, but now I found after all these years that at least with other musicians, I really get so much energy from other musicians and other artists and people that appreciate art. So, you know, the people that I meet at my shows and stuff, that they've studied music and they're passionate and they have trained ears, and they've been, you know, I think avid music listeners, just as avid readers, are almost even more well-trained than the actual writer or the musician, to listen for things and to study other people's work. And so I really love those interactions. I miss those interactions after the show. I actually really enjoy talking to people after the show.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, it's about my show, but it's about music. We're in the same place for a reason. Mm-hmm. You know, we're all at the show because we appreciate music and the power of it.
Yeah, that's obviously like that part is just cut out by doing like live streams, because, you know, it's you're having I'm sure you've watched a whole bunch of like YouTube, or not YouTube, but Instagram live streams or Facebook live streams. And, you know, after a song, people lean in to read the comments because there's no applause, or like there's nobody
so
saying something. I
know. And I say it's weird because it's just so different. But like, yeah, I've definitely just looked at the band and been like, well, All right, next one, I guess, because you're like, it's so different. You're
Yeah.
just like, normally you get the applaud and you're like, right, okay, next one. And then now you're just kind of like, all right, cool.
You never thought you were going to miss that drunk guy by the bar who's just yelling.
Oh my God, I missed the
whatever.
heckler. Yeah, even the hecklers.
You know, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was you're very, very fashionable. You've got like a lot of
thanks.
great suits and you know, jackets and hats and stuff like that. And I guess I read that you and your mother have like designed a lot of the stuff you've worn.
Yeah.
What is that like? What's that kind of that process?
Oh yeah, that's really almost as equally rewarding. It's become like another, I don't know, art for me. I can't actually make the clothes. Like my mother's a great seamstress and she can actually make the clothes, but even still, like we hire like a younger seamstress and then we design it together. And it's really fun. Like we'll just like send images back and forth. I'm always like pulling up, you know, images of Elvis and Mick Jagger and Keith Richards and like in combination with like Graham Parsons and, you know, George Jones. And I'm like, okay, so we want to meld these two worlds. And then the pros tell me how we can do it. My mother's taught me a lot about just how like, you know, just how design with suits, you know, the visual design and where the lines are and how the fit is so important. Even a tiny little fit will change the whole look. And it's been cool. It's been really educational. And it's also like another form of expression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was a whole lot of, you know, you going into and finding a lot of vintage stuff and reworking it, or if it was all kind of like new fabric kind of.
Oh yeah, it started with vintage and it still is a lot of vintage too. But lately it's been just like, because now vintage is getting expensive and sometimes it can cost just as much to tailor something as it would to just like make it from scratch. So lately we've been making a lot of suits.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Like my parents, they were never like in that kind of vintage, that style, but like really 90s country kind of stuff. And I always just kind of kick myself because I'm like, man, had I had all that stuff, if we just didn't have as many garage sales growing up, we would have like the best like Etsy store available or something. I don't know. Just kind of one of those things. You're like, man.
For sure.
At the time, you kind of look at your parents and you're
it's worth something now.
Yeah. I don't know. That's I find that interesting, the fashion aspects, because so much of rock and roll and American music or just music in general is the outfit, you know,
yes.
Charlie Crockett, obviously, like he's got
great
his own style. And I feel like that's all, like that's part of what makes it cool.
Yeah, man. And it's like, also I feel it's a response, you know, and Dwight Yoakam will attest to this, but like we have a responsibility stepping on stage. Those people are out on a date or they took their like paycheck to come to your show. You better dress up for them. You better fully entertain them, you know, outfit and all. It's you know, hopefully the show is an experience where it's like, it's exciting to dress up. I think it's fun. It just elevates the whole show too. It's like I get in my, you know, it's like putting on a suit. If you want to sell a good car, you know, you got to like step into character. Yeah,
for sure. You know, you mentioned old songs a second ago, kind of, you know, some that still have you, that you're kind of like, oh, I need to finish these up or I need to bring them back or something. I guess like the first time I heard you was you had a song on the Wicker Park soundtrack, which I think is...
Oh, really? You heard that?
Yeah. Like, that's, in my opinion, that Wicker Park soundtrack, it was like always kind of considered less so than like the, I guess like the Grey's Anatomy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's so underrated.
The rival movie was
like
Garden State,
yeah.
which was so good. And that soundtrack, I say rival. The soundtrack was, in the same vein.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, like that song Light Switch, like where did you, I guess, like how did that even happen?
Oh, I was in Northern California and I was stoned and I looked at the light switch and I thought I just compared it to my life. I was like, I was 17, but I was like, yeah, sometimes I can figure it out. Sometimes I can find the light switch.
Yeah, but I was actually kind of meaning more like, how did it end up on the Wicker Park?
Oh, I love that. Let's remember that answer forever. Well, how did it get on? Oh yeah, my first record deal was with that company that was a movie company called Lakeshore Entertainment. The record label was called Lakeshore Records, therefore, and they had produced the film, and then they were doing the soundtrack, and I had to deal with them, and I still had to pitch quite a few songs to them. Mm-hmm. But then it got on there, and I was very proud of that. It was pretty fun for being so young and, from a small town.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, like that, I don't even remember watching Wicker Park, but I remember that soundtrack. Like the soundtracks of that time are very indie centric, right? And
yeah,
I don't know. Like I always felt like the Wicker Park was an underrated soundtrack for starters, and I feel like I don't know, like BuzzFeed or Pitchfork or someone's going to write a. Do you remember the Wicker Park soundtrack? It's criminally underrated.
Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome if they did? Yeah. It'd be good for me. But yeah, it was a great soundtrack. I was really stoked to be on that because I just thought those were some heavy hitters. Mm-hmm. Both new and old. They had like old Mazzy Star on there, but they also had like the Postal Service and Death Cab for Cutie and Stereophonics. That was pretty hip.
Yeah. Then there was like, I know everyone kind of shits on Coldplay, but there was that.
Oh yeah.
There was that cover of The Scientist, which I think that song's great. So.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And I can't remember who covered The Scientist. Was it Mum?
I don't think so. I can't remember who it was, but I can pull it up. But it was.
I'm so impressed that you even know that soundtrack.
Okay, it is by Danny Lohner and Jonette Napolitano. That's who it's by. I didn't know that. You there?
Yeah, I was just thinking that I think I know those people.
Are they?
That's so funny. I think they're in LA, and I think I might have. One's an engineer and a producer. Mm-hmm. That's so interesting. Awesome.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to pretend we cut back in here, like naturally. Yeah, one of the things I was wanting to also ask you about is Neil Castle plays a lot on this album, and this was like one of the last albums he worked on before passing away. How did he get involved? Like, when did he, I guess, get involved to play on the record?
Yeah, when did he come on board for the album? Mm-hmm. We had someone else slated to record, and then they couldn't do it. And Shooter and I were brainstorming, and Shooter called me up and was like, "Hey, what about Neil Castle? I've worked a lot with him." And I said, "Well, yeah, I mean, if he'll do it, absolutely. I would guess that guy's going to be booked, and this might not be big enough or pay enough for him." And but Neil really connected with the songs, and he was on board. It was really cool because I had met him several times and we'd talked about writing songs together, but I'd just been too intimidated. I just really, really, really loved his work for a lot of years. Mm-hmm. So when he came on board, I was very surprised and super honored. And he delivered full. I mean, there's a lot of layering of guitars that are just all Neil on this album. and this album would sound so different if he wasn't, on the recordings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I talked with Zephaniah O'Hora the other day, and
Oh, wow.
Neil had produced his last record too. So like,
yes,
these two projects are kind of in those last, they're definitely like in the running as like, the last batch of stuff he worked on. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Neil was talking about that record. He was really proud of that.
Yeah. Have you listened to it?
I've heard a couple cuts. They're very good. But I haven't heard the whole record yet.
Yeah.
And I think, did he just release the whole album?
Yeah, it came out, I guess, last Friday.
Okay.
So
yeah, well, now I can listen to the whole album. I appreciate that reminder.
Yeah, it's so good. I feel like, for me, I guess, like, and for a lot of people, I think the touchstone with Neil is his work with the Cardinals, and
yes,
that's
yep.
If it's what I was just so amazed that, especially with Zeph's record, is like it's very in that very classic country vein, and it
right.
just works so well. And then of course with this record, it shows just how, I think like the worst thing you can do is just kind of shoehorn someone as being this one kind of person as an artist or this kind of player and
right.
dismiss them as just being that kind of that one trick pony or whatever those tricks are for that pony,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that the really, what I've learned about musicians like Neil is if they don't know something, they will learn how to do it and they will study and they do their homework because they won't deliver anything less than. And I remember saying that Neil had dug into a lot of different eras of country while he was working with Zeph on that. And he'd done his homework. I mean, the guy was just so musical and so capable of so many different things. Yeah. I remember it surprised me that Neil was producing Zephaniah's album because I knew it'd be so country that and I even was like to Shooter, you think he's a great player. You think he can like pull off the super country stuff? And he did, and he does. Yeah, he really nailed it for me. Especially because we're both such Rolling Stones fans. Mm-hmm. And ironically, that English band really did country so well.
Yeah, they did. That was kind of always when I was younger. I was always like, actually, the best like American country band is the Stones. Kind of like being serious, but also joking in a way, but. Yeah, like especially that stuff they did in Muscle Shoals, and they just a lot of if they wanted to, they could have just been a quote unquote country band for sure.
For sure, man. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man, the girl with the faraway eyes is so great too. Just that whole banter that Mick does. Well, I was driving through Bakersfield early Sunday morning. Yeah. And I heard the preacher come on. Yeah. It said, the Lord is always on your side. So good.
Yeah. I love that right there. And I like that faraway eyes thing. That's just like kind of like the like underrated sadness right there.
Oh yeah.
Just the description of that. And yeah, I don't know. I really love the Stones too. What's
For
kind
sure.
of like your go-to?
What's
record?
My go-to?
Like
what's that?
Album? Like if you're kind of like your go-to album that if you were at like a little party or something and you got the record player and you pull out.
It used to be that I'd put on Let It Bleed because it had Monkey Man on there and stuff, but it used to be Let It Bleed or Sticky Fingers, but nowadays I'm all about Exile again. Mm-hmm. It's really that the drug days, the Stones are my favorite. I love Exile on Main Street. Sweet Virginia, I like to cover that song a lot. Torn and Frayed, but then, Let It Bleed's got Love and Cup on there. Yeah, but I'm all about exile these days. I'm back on that trip.
Yeah, I'm still like on Sticky Fingers.
Are you? Yeah, Sticky Fingers is it's a legendary piece of work.
Yeah, I feel like that back half of like with Sway and stuff like that is just so, just like I just love that mood. You know what I mean? Just
did that one have Moonlight Mile on it?
I think that's on Let It Bleed.
Oh, okay, all right. See, yeah. I'm still Sticky Fingers is also the best artwork.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a copy of it that actually has like the working zipper.
Working zipper, so, that's worth a lot of money. That vinyl.
Yeah, that's why that's the vinyl nerd part too. Like when I saw it, I was like, oh, I have to get this one right here because this one has it's the same
working
price
zipper.
as the other one.
Very good, right?
Yeah,
so funny.
I think like I'm trying to think of where I got that at. This is like a dumb story, but I think where I got it was there was this garage sale where this guy was selling like all his vinyl, and he had like a garage worth of vinyl, and I think
nice.
his whole thing was like he had bought like everything in double copies because just in case one of them wore out, which like nothing wore out, but also because he thought like his kids would want them, and then like his kids and his grandkids it was kind of a sad story in that aspect. But
they didn't want anything to do with this vinyl records.
And I bought like boxes from him.
Yeah,
like, we worked out,
what
like,
fools!
Yeah, I got like so much Dylan. I think I got a few Stones in there.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't know. Side story.
What Dylan records did you get?
You're not gonna believe it. I got like everything right now. My Dylan collection is everything from the '62 debut up to Planet Waves.
Nice.
And then I've got like a couple of newer ones in there, but he released so many records. It's just so hard to
I know.
have it all. Yeah. So do you have a favorite Dylan? Same question. You're putting a Dylan record on though.
Oh, you know what's funny is I actually really love Nashville Skyline.
Mm-hmm.
I love Nashville Skyline. And then I love the one with She Belongs to Me. I think that's another side of Bob Dylan. Yeah. Oh, but also Blonde on Blonde. Yeah.
Like what amazes me about guys like Dylan and the Stones is that like they have like classic records 15, 20 years apart. That's what gets me so like, holy shit, is like Blonde on Blonde and Blood on the Tracks are 10 years apart. That's 60. That's like 65 and 75. And
right.
You know, with the Stones, like what? Let's see here. Like Let It Bleed is like 69, and like Some Girls is 78. You know,
Some Girls, great, yeah.
Yeah, that's another great one. The only song like I don't like necessarily is Shattered. I feel like that's like
yeah, I know, right? It annoys me.
Okay, so I didn't know if that was like a hot take where people were gonna write in or something. So
no, I'm on the same page.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, it's been really great talking with you today. I think we've
good times.
A lot of ground here. So
for sure, Thomas, I loved your questions. Thank you so much for it. It's been a really, really inspiring conversation.
Well, thank you. All right, thanks for listening to New Slang. Once again, check out Neon Cross by Jaime Wyatt. If you haven't just yet, check out our presenting sponsors, Desert Door and the Blue Light Live. All right, I will see y'all next week.